Security Halt podcast is proudly sponsored by Titan SARS, Precision Wellness Group, and Pure Liberty Labs. My wife gets home, she's like, "Did you drink water and eat today?" And I'm like, "No." But I got a sick bipump. Pump. I went and worked out.
Dude, that's the way I always am too. Like I get into the grind at work and it's like, I'll come home and be like, it's 8 o'clock at night and be like, shit, I haven't eaten anything all day. No wonder I feel like hell. Right. And then then you go slamming a bunch of food before bed. And then you're like, oh, well, I don't know why I'm having nightmares and can't fucking sleep. You tell me.
Dr. Taylor Bosley, I'm sorry.
Right.
Your shameless plug to an amazing sponsor. If you're looking to optimize your hormones, check out the episode description. Hit up Dr. Taylor Bosley. He is an amazing resource. And right now, if you use my discount code, you'll get some money off of your initial consultation. But
nice.
I am not listening to my doctor because I, too, am not getting good sleep and I'm not eating regularly.
Yeah.
Mike, welcome to Security Halt podcast, brother. How are you?
Appreciate it, dude. Doing really well. Doing good.
Dude,
grinding. Grinding and, grinding some more. So,
man. And, I don't feel too bad because you're a learned doctor. You've got knowledge. You're supposed to be the best of us.
Dude, I always appreciate that. People are always like, you're a doctor. You're like, nah, bro, you're just still human and still do the same dumb shit as other people. Trust me.
Man.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm excited to have you on. Let's dive into your story, dude. Like, how do you go from being a mild-mannered individual to, creating something like Prep and Wild, going out into being able to live authentically and enjoy the outdoors and give people ownership and resources that empower them? Like, if you get in trouble, that's one thing that I loved about the military. There's a real thing like QRF, but self-recovery, man, number one thing. Empowering individuals to take care of themselves in the worst situations, and hey, like, you can come out of it.
Yeah. No, I mean that's very true. And I'd say how and why. 20 years. I graduated med school in 2005, and my pathway to med school wasn't the traditional. Always wanted to be a doctor. Always wanted to do that thing, and it just I more or less fell into it, and I fell into it because of traumatic brain injury, and I had a brain bleed my second year of playing college football, and so I went to school just to play ball. My dad forbid the military because that was my path, and I was talking to recruiters and doing that whole thing, and he was a Vietnam vet, and he sat me down and was like, dude, bad decision. He lived through that era where there was no patriotism. They came home and they were treated poorly. He couldn't find work because he was a veteran. No one would hire him, so it was a struggle. So he laid that out, and he's like, dude, you're blessed to play ball, and it's a game, and they're gonna, cover your college for you. Why would you not do that? So, that's the path I went. Only my second year to end up with a brain bleed, and once that happens, you're not cleared for anything. My plan was to go play ball, and when I was done playing ball, was then going to be then I'd go in the military, and. And once you have a TBI like that, no one wants you for anything. It's like the world don't want you no more,
dude.
So
yes.
Spent a week in the hospital with that, and then a lot of appointments, and kind of they didn't do much rehab back then. All of that was poorly understood, but just being around medicine and having the appointments and stuff, I became fascinated with it and really saw it as an avenue to help other people. And that's always been at my core, is just helping people, right? It's, that's just how I've been my whole life. And that's how I landed in it, really. And then, so it's funny because when I hang out with, my friends, I don't have any friends that are doctors. I don't. We don't mesh well.
Yeah.
And when I hang out, when I'm with friends or I meet people, the last thing they suspect that I am is a doctor. They look at me and they think like Josh Smith at, Montana Knife, right? When he and I met and, he said this, I think it was on his podcast. He's told me this several times. He's like, dude, if I had to look at you, I'd think you're like, in gas and oil or, you're doing contracting work or some shit like that. Like
or a
the last
retired Green
thing.
Beret.
Right. No, I'm not
Yeah.
that hard, bro.
Yeah, full disclosure, when you just look at the people that you're involved with, I mean, you got some Marines, you got people from all walks of life, you at the surface level, and when you look at what you're doing, oh, dude, he's part of us, affiliated somehow. And very much if anybody, if you watch any of the podcasts you've been on, you're not the polished version of a doctor you find on LinkedIn. You're
Yeah.
somebody that likes to live. You're somebody
Yeah.
that's out there. Not saying that those doctors don't do that, but very the authentic self comes through in everything that you do. And it's somebody where like the highest compliment, I could go have a beer with this guy, or I could go get a coffee. I could sit out in the deer stand with this guy. I could be on a blind with this guy.
The thing I love the most, man, it's like, judge this cover. I love
Yeah.
that. Judge the cover. Don't even get it don't even get into the pages of me, man. Just
Yeah.
just judge me right away. And um no, so I take that. I take that as a compliment where a lot of my colleagues would be offended by that, be like, "Oh, you're not polished and you're not this, you're not that." It's just a different mindset. And I guess the majority of those that go into medicine, they had that passion, they had that drive, and that's just what they were. They were bookworms. They, just focused purely on their studies, and that's how they obtained it. Me, it's the stuff honestly just came easy for me. Um, when I was a little kid, I was always fascinated with, dissecting all the animals that we kill. So my dad would get so frustrated, man, because we did all of our own butchering, all of our own processing. And I'm over there taking a knee joint apart on a deer, looking for the ACL and the PCL and all this stuff. And he would just be like, you're wasting time. What are you doing with this? I'm checking out the lung and all the chambers of the heart, dissecting the heart out. And I was always into that stuff. So, I guess I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason in life, and you don't know why in the moment. And my second year of college, I didn't know why that was happening to me. I know how it happened. I played like a fool, and I just wanted to just hit as hard as I could. And when you go to the college level and all of a sudden, you're playing against 320-pound pulling guards, you're only playing at 210 as a weak side linebacker, something's going to give. And
Fuck.
and I just played foolish, and I thought I could just blow everything up. And that was my mindset. And I thrived on that feeling of a big hit, getting up and the world is spinning on you, man. There was just it was like a drug, right? It was a bad drug where you hit somebody so hard that they're laying on the turf and the world's spinning on you. I did my job, right?
Yeah.
I did my job and I won that battle, right? So, it got the best of me then. I mean, I played foolish. So, yeah, I more or less, like I said, I fell into that. And at the core, I've always been the same person from when I was young, man. Loved the outdoors, started in the outdoors when I was 5. That's how we put food on the table as a
Mhm.
family. I had 2 brothers. Like I said, my dad was a Vietnam vet. He came out, couldn't find work. My mom worked as a secretary. They did everything they could for us and provided, the essentials of a home and loving family and those things. Materialistic things did not exist in our life. So when we went out in the woods, man, it was, freezer packing time. We're putting everything we can in the freezer to make the year so we could, have good meals and stuff. And, I've never left that. I
Yeah.
still do it. I have my kids doing it still. They don't understand it because they see like, we don't have to hunt to put food on the table. But I'm like, we're we're not going to lose that tradition. We're not going to lose that way of life. And you're always going to be able to sustain yourself. You're never going to have to
So
depend on others.
fucking lootly,
Right.
man. That is such an
Yeah.
important thing that's being lost by the vast majority. It's only like and it's like a virus, right? I grew up for a good portion of my life. northern Colorado, the Front Range, and I remember the Front Range outside of Fort Collins, Windsor, Alt, Severance, all these small little towns where people still hunted, where you could still, as a young kid, rent a blind and go goose hunting, waterfowl hunting. And like a virus, that industrial and development creeps and creeps and creeps further and further and further. You don't recognize these towns anymore. People don't hunt anymore. People aren't vocal about getting out there because along with that virus comes the mentality of, well, you don't need to hunt. It's not a good sport. It's cruel. It's
Yeah.
when you source and get your own meat and you're out there, you're a good steward of the environment. You're a crucial element, a crucial chain in the food pyramid. People don't
Right.
remember chronic wasting. I remember it. I remember in North Colorado. And what stops it? When you have individuals that are passionate about being sportsmen, are passionate about gathering and hunting. And when you vilify it, when you remove it and you don't talk about the goodness that comes from it and the vital part that it actually, I mean, it's so many different ways. The tradition, the father-son tradition, the ability to go out there and experience something that's deeply rooted in our American culture. Everybody talks about Americans don't have culture. Yeah, we fucking do.
Yeah, we
But
do.
it's deeply rooted in going out and doing hard things. And let me ask you this, and I think you can probably have a testimony of this. Like you probably remember the first time all of your kids were able to bring down their first buck or their first kill. Like how American is that? How much joy
Right.
and pride do you have in that? How
It's
many
it's
families
primal.
don't have that? How many families
They
don't
they
have
don't.
that?
They don't, man. It's a primal instinct. You know, it's at the core of us as, alpha type predators. Like that's what you do. And try to get people that are against it to understand that they can't. Now, I've taken people that have been against it, and I'm very much a middle ground type person. I'm like, okay, you don't understand what I do. Let me show you what I do. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not going to get anywhere with that. Come experience it. And I've had some people come experience it and they're like, I get it. Like, this is awesome. And then they're able to take that meat home and provide to their family. And as a man, I mean, at our foundation, we're providers and protectors. Like I tell my son that I've got two daughters. My son, he has a twin sister, and I just went through the speech with him last night. Our sole responsibility here is to protect the girls, right? We provide and we protect. And that's what I expect you to be as you grow into a man, right? You're going to be here to protect your sister. You're going to protect her in school. You're going to protect her at home, and you're always going to protect your mother, right? So, and being able to go out and do that, dude, he shot his first buck last year. He's 12, right? So he
Nice.
just turned 12. So at 11 he shot his first buck. It's actually hanging on the wall back there.
Heck
um
yeah.
right there, that one. um yeah, and it's a amazing experience as a father to see him accomplish that, and to be behind he's behind the gun on his own and nervous, and to put the deer down, the excitement, it was just, dude, it was just such a rush, and I never understood. Like, I've been hunting for so long, it's like you don't feel that rush anymore. You don't feel that. You become, I don't want to say numb to it. It's not a disrespectful thing to the animal, because we still,
Yep.
pray over the animal and stuff, but it's like work. Get it done. Okay, I got meat in the freezer. With him, it was just like I felt that rush again and that excitement that I haven't felt since I was a kid. And dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. And he looks at me after he put it down one shot, and he looks at me. He goes, "Dad, can I say the S word?" I'm like, "Let it rip, bud." He goes, "Holy shit, that was a big buck." So those experiences stay with you for life, and you don't forget those things. And like you said, that bonding moment, just that interaction, that time you spend sitting in a tree stand, sitting under a tree, snow's falling, you're tucked up under a hemlock, and just having those discussions with your kids about life, about future plans. What are their hopes? What are their dreams? What's weighing heavy on their mind? That I think a lot of parents have lost that.
Yep.
They're rushed home from work every day. People are sitting in separate rooms eating their dinner, and nobody has conversation or discussion. And that's where society goes wrong. That's where it goes sideways.
Yeah. You can't have the same sort of interaction, on Roadblocks or Minecraft. Like, I'm sorry, you're not gonna get the same interaction with your young man, your son, as he's getting older and maturing, you know, watching a TV show. This episode is brought to you by Pure Liberty Labs. Quality supplements designed to elevate your health and performance. Check out their full line of quality supplements, whether you're looking for whey protein, pre workout, creatine, or a super greens drink. Pure Liberty Labs has you covered. Use my code Security Halt 10 at checkout today. Like these are moments that you can only experience when you do hard things, when you're learning how to be a good steward of the environment, when you're taking participating in something that is bigger than you. I mean, yeah, you could do it weightlifting, you could do it through sports a little bit, but when you're outdoor, and that's the reason why outdoor recreational therapy works for veterans. It's healing. It's letting you tap into something bigger than yourself. And when you're guiding your kids through it, that's a thing that, I'm a new parent. Mine's about to be a year old here in a couple months. And I've always had this visualization of ensuring that, like, hey, I have to make it a priority to get her outdoors to experience these things. How much longer? How much longer? We don't have people. We have very few people that are out there fighting for outdoorsmanship, for sportsmanship, for hunting, for fishing. Like it's I think of, and I try to remember to be hopeful, but I think of a future where it's going to be more limited, where the land is going to be more managed by Big Brother, and we're not going to have as much
Yeah.
access. So yeah, it's very important. While we have it, while it's out there, guys, you got to get out there and
Take
experience
advantage.
this. Yes.
Take advantage. And the thing is, you don't have to go out and kill things, you know?
Yeah.
Go out and hike, go find something cool. Go find a waterfall, go find a challenging trail and challenge not just yourself, but your kids with you, to get to the top of that trail.
Yep.
There's a lot to learn through suffering together. You know this better than I. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been through that. But suffering together and suffering as a family in a healthy way like that just bonds you and brings you so much closer together. And doing it in nature, like you said, there's no better therapy than that. And my best days right now after doing emergency medicine for 20 years is in the outdoors. I feel more connected. I feel disconnected from, the chaos, disconnected from the horrible, the bad things that I've experienced, that I've seen, that I've done. And it just recenters me. It grounds me back to what life is truly about. And life is not about the grind. And life is not about, showing up to work, punching the clock, collecting your paycheck, paying your bills. This is free stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like you don't like
Especially
you
as a
just
veteran, man, you like gold sportsmanship licenses, like like state of Florida, for example, you can get your sportsman gold card at Walmart for free. Like you can go
yeah.
fishing, go small game hunting for free. And there's tons of people out there, dude. You can jump online right now and find 15 different clubs within your area that will help you learn how to do this. If you've never hunted or fished before, that's a thing. Like you kind of touched on it. And I wanted to dive into it a little bit. Like going into medicine is probably one of the hardest things I could imagine doing. Extremely stressful. Like, did you find yourself while you were going through your education, like having to lean on figuring out how you could get out to the outdoors as sort of like a stress management tool?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that was my stress management tool. I would, in med school, I went to med school in Erie, Pennsylvania. So you're right on the lake. You have steelhead running in the fall and spring. You've got awesome fishing up there. And you would find me oftentimes out at the butt crack of dawn, working the streams, trying to catch steelhead while they're running. And it's actually how my wife and I met. So she's late for class coming back from a fishing trip with her family in Canada, and I'm late for class just because I'm always late for class. And I'm fishing And I recognized at a young age, just like I have ADD and I can't sit there for 8 hours straight a day and just be talked at. Right. So, I'm on the stream and I come in late. She comes in late. The whole auditorium of like 200 some people. It's alphabetical order, and our names are nowhere close to one another. And when you come in late, you have to sit at the back. So I sit down. She sits down next to me. It's just small talk, and she's like, "Why are you late today?" I said, "Well, I was fishing." She's like, "Oh, I love fishing." I'm like, "Really? Okay, hot blonde that loves fishing. Okay, let's dive into this a little more, right?" And she's like, "Will you take me?" I'm like, "Absolutely. We can go out tomorrow morning if you want." So the funny story is she thought I had a boat. So I go pick her up and she has nothing. She doesn't have a fishing pole. She doesn't have waders. She has nothing. And I'm like, "Where's all your gear?" She's like, "What are you talking about? Where's your boat?" And I'm like, "I don't have a boat." So I have to run the Cabela's quick in the morning, get her outfitted for fishing, with no money. Everything's on credit card. I have no job. I have no source of income. So I'm just paying for this chick, right? And then she proceeds to wade out into the lake and fill her waders with water, and she goes under and is drowning. So
Jesus.
swear to hand to God, like that's the absolute truth. So I have to run, like I'm in the stream, she's on the beach, and I run down the beach, strip my stuff off quick, go in, cut her out of her waders, and pull her ass out of the
Damn.
water, out of the lake. Yeah. So that's how we met. That was, I wouldn't even say, we always say like that wasn't even a date. That was just like, hey, two
You
people
saved
that
my life.
right. But
I guess I owe you.
now no, but like that was getting outdoors, the time that the free time that we did have, getting back home, getting in the woods, hunting, trapping, whatever it was, helps you get through those challenging times, right? Because med school's not a joke. It's pretty intense, and they make it that way, similar to the way, special forces and military. And I'm not special forces military. There's no comparison there, but
But
similar to,
education
it's
wise,
just
yeah, it's
right.
hard.
It's right. It's hard, and they just overwhelm you with a ton of information that you have to process and, test on it constantly. And it's every day's a test, and every day you're being tested, and every day it's a weed out process to see who can hack this. Because in the end, the reality is you are dealing with people's lives, and you don't need a weak-minded, person to do that. Like you have to be confident. And I think that's where, arrogance and confidence, there's a fine line there. And that's where a lot of people think doctors are arrogant and stuck up. But there's a degree of confidence that you have to have. Um, and a lot of us come across as that arrogance, and it's misinterpreted into more of a confidence, because you, all through the stages of doing this, every stage you take, if you don't have confidence, you're not making it. You're
Absolutely,
just
yeah.
not going to make it through. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in the end product.
Dude, absolutely. Anytime you're taking on something that big, um, and with a high washout rate, high attrition rate, you have to have that confidence. It's got to be instilled in you. And there is a lot of parallels, man. The 18 Delta pipeline, like a soft medic, like that is, hey, that's a title. You're a doc. In some countries, you are a doctor,
Yeah.
and their course is brutal. So like it's absolutely necessary to build that structure of confidence and resilience, like understanding that you have to study and you can prep all day, but if you haven't built that mindset of being confident in yourself when you're walking in day after day in that process, that shit eats at you. And that's not 1 year, 2 years, it's years.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It was 12 years total until I could say that I'm a doctor. So, you have 4 years undergrad, 4 years med school, 4 years of residency until you're a grown up doctor, right? The real deal, in which you can take care of people, on your own. So, and all through the course of that, you're being tested constantly. You
Yep.
have, steps of your boards, through med school, then you have your boards in residency. And then even when you're an attending, you continue to research, and still have to have a board recertification. So it doesn't stop.
Right.
And medicine is constantly evolving.
Yep.
And, what we did a year ago through evidence and research, we don't do anymore. And you have to stay up on that stuff, to give your patients the best possible outcome. Without that, you become stagnant, then you're unfortunately putting your patient at risk.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't focus on and realize that the the good doctors, the doctors are out there are constantly evolving, constantly learning, now more than ever in this rapid age of, the internet. Like back in the day, you could get away being
Yeah.
being, being
Yeah. You
a
could,
half a good enough doctor.
yeah. You could have your fancy degree in this really expensive, frame hanging on the
Yeah,
wall, and people would respect you. And that doesn't fly anymore.
no,
It's every patient tests you now. They want answers, and rightfully so. They should. We try to know as much as we can, and they're good. There are really good doctors. There are also really bad doctors, and bad doctors that just become stagnant and feel that they can rely on the education they obtained 20 years ago. And they're the bad doctors. They're the ones that should just get out. If you don't want to continue to challenge yourself, to push yourself, to grow, then just quit, man. Like, get out of it. Do
yeah,
do something else. Those that want to continue to grow and expand their knowledge, they're the good doctors. They're the better doctors that you want to seek out, and try to find those people to care for you and your family. Because that's going to be the best outcome for you, and that's hard, right? So that's really hard. It's not like we walk around with signs on us saying, "Hey, I haven't studied shit for 20 years." Right?
well, you gotta do this if you work for the VA.
Dude, the VA's a trip, man. I mean, so
Yeah,
I tried several times to get with the VA, just to pay back, and, to the veteran community, because I see my wife's a doc too, right? So I told you
oh,
we met
wow,
in
yeah,
med
yeah,
school. So she's a gastroenterologist, I'm an ER doc, and, both of us have gone down that avenue of how can we benefit the veteran community, because of the respect there. How can we use the skills, the education that we've obtained to help them? In both of our settings, we see the product of VA care. And when people come to us and it's like, what is happening? This is so messed up. There's so many things that are missed. There's so many things that have not been done right. How can we help fix that? And the problem with the VA is the VA doesn't pay, right? And in a perfect world where money wasn't an issue for us, that would be a no-brainer. But when you have to pay for your own education, and you come out of med school and each of you are $400,000 to $500,000 in debt, I mean, you come out of med school just with your school loans, $1 million between both of us, right? Dude, you got, like, it's a lot of money to pay back, and you still want to buy a home, and you want to take a vacation, and you're raising kids and all of that. So as much as we don't want money to be an issue in our decisions of where we work and how we work, and it has to be, unfortunately. We all want to get to that end of being able to say we're retired and we're done with this, and you have to focus on the paycheck to do that.
absolutely, man, absolutely. Like that's the truth. And I do think that there are some good doctors within the system. I don't want to paint with a broad brush. I've met some great ones. But yeah, it is filled with a lot of individuals that don't like. I will say this: the bad ones are out there.
No, they're out there.
I'll leave it at that.
But But the reason that I feel, the reason that the VA is fixable, right? You can easily fix the VA if you would take the funds and commit to the VA. And unfortunately, they're not. So salaries for the VA are so low that the only doctors you're going to attract to work there are the foreign medical grads. Those that are coming over on a visa, trying to get plugged into the system to stay in the United States, and they jump ship as soon as they get cleared for that, and they go get the bigger paycheck, right? So it's like the majority. I'm not saying all. Again, I don't want to paint with a broad brush either, but
This episode is also brought to you by Precision Wellness Group. Getting your hormones optimized shouldn't be a difficult task, and Dr. Taylor Bosley has changed the game. Head on over to precisionwellnessgroup.com, enroll, and become a patient today.
a lot of them they're just trying to get plugged into the American healthcare system. So they're willing to, and they're coming from other countries where, okay, making 150 grand or 200 grand as a doctor is way better than the 40 or 50 that you made, back home. So
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, they see that way better. But, those of us that have, come through the US healthcare system know that that's extremely low rate. And you have to stand firm with how you value yourself. I don't, and it's value comes in terms of paycheck as well. And it's like, I value myself higher than that. I want to be paid more than that. Right.
Absolutely. You
So
got to, especially these
yeah,
days, to be able to do everything that, raise a family, have a future. You have to be able to make yourself, you got to make a
start a
living.
business.
Yeah. Start a business. Yeah. Yeah. We'll get on that real quick. But, uh, you know, before I understood, everybody has this idea that a doctor's a doctor, you just go to, but there's specialties. You specialize in things. How did you go about choosing your specialty? Like, was it always just about being at the craziest setting? Did you want hands on to get you back in that
No,
adrenaline spirit?
no, dude. And honestly, looking back, I wish I wouldn't have, because the thing they don't tell you when you start emergency medicine, they don't tell you about the trauma that you're going to endure, the nightmares you're going to have, and the sleep that you won't get 20 years afterwards. Right. And, I've talked to people outside of medicine about that. I originally started, I wanted to be a surgeon. Right. And, I did 1 year of that. And when I met with the chairman of surgery, there's two kinds of doc. There's a DO and there's an MD, right? And 20 years ago, I'm a DO, my wife's a DO. Um, the difference in schooling is there's one component of DO school that MD schools don't have. MDs are way more involved in research. It's more heavily research. DOs are we've always felt or the more grounded type, the personable type, treating the person, not a disease. MDs just tend to have I'm treating a disease here and, you know, may not so much look at like it's a person, right? So goes, Robin Williams movie, Patch Adams. I don't know if you've ever heard it or
Yeah.
seen it, but there's a scene in that movie where he's standing in front of the medical board and, he says, you treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, you win every time, I guarantee you. And I've always looked at that as the main differentiator between DO and MD. So when I was in my first year of surgery, I met with the chairman and I chose a super specialized tract to do. And he told me point blank, he goes, "You're a DO, no one's going to take you. Like those positions are only going to go to MDs." That's improved over the last 20 years where you don't have that, that big, divide. But it's still very much out there, right? So if you want to become this hyper specialized neurosurgeon that's, only operating on little babies in the womb, like it's a struggle as a DO to get in there because it's just the society of medicine that we work in and that we live in just doesn't have that higher level of respect, right? So it's, being a DO, and I got accepted to MD schools too. And I chose to to go in an osteopathic school because it was Erie, PA, and I could fish and be in the outdoors versus living in Philadelphia. I mean, that's what it came down to be honest with you. So when, when, when I was choosing
Hell yeah.
schools, man, when I was choosing schools, it was like concrete jungle or the woods. I choose the woods and I choose to be able to fish. And because I knew that that would be important for my sanity and, during the stressful times. So, and how I got into emergency medicine was, I had that conversation with my chairman. We were doing a late surgery one night on a patient, and we're scrubbing in up in the OR, and my attending, who, you know, short of idolization, because I don't really idolize anybody, but I really looked up to this dude. He was an amazing surgeon, amazing person, and he looked at me and he goes, "Why are you doing this?" Right? And again, everything's a test. They constantly test you. And I go into the whole like, oh, to help people, that cliche stuff, right? And then he looks at me, and I'll never forget. He looks at me, he goes, "No, why the fuck are you doing this?" He goes, "Get out." He's like, I don't know my kids. I'm on my second divorce. I don't leave the hospital. I'm here all the time. Get out of this now while you can. And I went down to the emergency department that night to do another a surgical consult on somebody else late night. And the chairman of emergency medicine just recognized I was off a little, right? And I just wasn't my personable self. And he's like, "What's up with you tonight?" I'm like, "Dude, I just got crushed, devastated by Dave. Dave just devastated me, man. He told me to get out while I can." And the chairman of emergency medicine says he's right, and let me do you a favor. He goes, "Well," and it's a rank process. So how you get into your residency, you rank hospitals and hospitals rank you. And they put that in the computer program, and it just spits out where you're going to go. Like, you don't have a choice in it. So he's like, "We'll rank you number 1 this year, guaranteed spot to come, to stay here and do emergency medicine." And that's how I got into it. So in the beginning, it was awesome. Like, high intensity, like level 1 trauma center. You're flying, you're, going to, you know, you're landing on these, accident scenes, you're doing a ton of scene calls, that type of stuff. And then I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just repeated, seeing the same stuff over and over, and some of the worst things that humanity has to offer, I guess. Having kids definitely changed me. Um, Anytime I had to deal with a pediatric trauma, or, you know, pediatric overdoses, or,
Mhm.
pediatric cases that, father lost it and decided to hurt their kids or burn them or whatever. I couldn't, I couldn't connect that anymore. Because I now had kids to make that connection with. Right. Um, and I'd say that's when I was like, what did I do? Why did I do this? So,
Yeah.
um, because there's no, like, it's not like you put in 20 and you're out, and
Yeah.
you have a retirement plan, or your retirement plan is the stock market, really, or if you're smart enough to go invest in real estate and those types of things. But it's not like you do 20 and you're out on retirement. It's like you keep doing it, throw yourself into the fire until, you have your nest egg build up and you can walk away.
A lot of people don't understand what our medical professionals go through, and we don't include them in that first responder world. We don't include them in that warrior tribe and say, because it's easy to look at a police officer, EMT, a firefighter, and be like, yeah, you're part of the warrior tribe. But that doctor that's going in, late nights, seeing that stuff that can stick with you for the rest of your life over and over again. It's like, I go deploy, come back home. Chances are I won't see anything horrible when I'm backside. Medical professionals, day in, day out, they're there. They're seeing the worst of it, just like you shared. Like,
Yeah, I think, and that's, I'll touch on that a little bit. And I think that's a tough part for us, is to admit to that, right?
yeah,
Because the comparison is, you're trying to compare yourself to, combat veterans and that type of thing. And it's, you're not in that same realm.
no,
It doesn't mean that you're less traumatized, but I think we hide it because we don't want to, I'd say, offend
yeah,
that group of people, and say, "Hey, yeah, but hey, I have trauma too." And like, "Oh yeah, how many times did you get shot at, doctor, while you're working in your air conditioned building?" Right.
yeah,
So I think that's why a lot of us don't ever talk about it. And I didn't talk about it for years. The first time I talked about it was 2 years ago. Um, and I've just internalized it all. And the person that brought it up to me was actually Tier.
Yeah.
and you had him on recently, and
Yeah.
we were at an event, and it's the first time we met, and we're at Winter Strong at Bert Soren's place, and um Tier looked at me, and it's like, I'll never forget. He looked at me, and he asked, like, what do you do for a living? And I told him, and he knew right away. Like, he said, I can see it in your eyes, dude. You've seen a lot of shit, right? He just recognized that, and I never recognized it in myself, right? It's, you look in the mirror, and over time, you don't know who's looking back,
Yep.
right? You kind of lose who that person is a little bit, and it's just, you just keep burying it. Just internalize it and bury it, and then it's kind of like floodgates open, and how do you deal with it? What do you do about it?
Yeah. And I will tell you right now, I got a family member, uh, my cousin. I will tell you, she was struggling. She's a emergency room nurse, and had to see a lot of stuff. COVID hit, had to do a lot of horrible stuff, had to, and the same thing, she's a mom, so she just pushes it down, pushes it down. There's nobody in her immediate circle that she can divulge or talk to or express this like we can as combat guys. And the resource that I had to plug her into was a resource for combat veterans. And that was the first time she was able to get some sort of relief, and find somebody that understood what she was going through. And that's when it dawned on me. The same thing that Tears saw in your eyes, I saw in her when we were talking. When we sat down face to face, I was like, holy shit. Like, you're dealing with the same shit some of my brothers are dealing with, but it's hard to admit, because you're right. You're not in a combat zone in traditional sense. You're not dealing with enemies shooting at you, but you're seeing some stuff that is forever etched in your soul, in your mind, and there's nobody to go to and say, "Holy shit, I'm dealing with this," because you feel like you can't. You feel like it's relegated, but there's people out there that have the resources, that have the ability to talk and connect with. They're just relegated to this side of the discussion with veterans only. And if it
Yeah.
wasn't for that resource, if it wasn't for that doctor I was able to get her connected to, I don't know who should be able to talk to. But it's we need to have that discussion. We need to realize that there's a certain level of training that some of these providers that have been working with veterans now have, that can be beneficial if we allow them to see other populations that have
Yeah.
the same issues. Because you're right, man. You can see it. Once it's almost like The Shining, where you can see it. Like you can walk around, you can see it, man. It's true.
You can pick people out. I can pick people out, just like Tier, picked me out right away. It's like when you've been through, some hard stuff, and it's been years upon years, you kind of recognize that in others as well. So I've become an advocate for it. The younger generation, the younger docs, I talk to them about that frequently, to be that, that ear for them to vent, and, come into my office and cry and whatever you need to do, man. But you got to let it out. Like, I
Yes.
took a path of, internalizing it. And the challenge for us, and the main difference for us on our end, is if you seek care, you risk losing your license.
Yep. Yep.
So there's multiple questions that we're asked when we, re-up our license. Every 2 years you have to reapply for your license. And, two of the first questions are you on antidepressants? Are you seeking therapy? Right. And there's been many counts and, stories of docs that have answered those questions honestly, and then they're flagged, and, they are nothing but a liability. And there's been many, there's been many of these stories of that happens to them. And now, there's no avenue for them, so they lose their license. They can't do what they have been doing, or what their passion is. For a lot of us, it's a passion to keep doing this. It has to be a passion.
Hmm.
And now they're left with nothing. And what do? They commit suicide. So, emergency medicine is one of the highest suicide rates out there. I think anesthesia is a little higher, but emergency medicine, I think we may be number one now after COVID. But we're one or two, and it's because of that. And we're told there's resources, and we can talk to people and do this and that. We're also not dishonest. So if you seek that therapy, if you seek that care, the medication,
Yeah.
you're not going to lie on your application. So I think a lot of people just don't seek it because they don't want to lie.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, man. That breaks my heart. There's a lot of people suffering and need help, and it's like, fuck, dude, what are we doing? We're losing great providers simply because they have to prioritize their health at some point and their family.
Yeah.
Like, or
Well, and that's you hit a big topic right there. This is in my mind, this is a significant public health concern because of the
yeah,
number of people that are getting out, right? They can't, in the healthcare industrial complex that we have here, it is like continue to push, do more with less. We're not backfilling that position that just retired or that
yeah,
person that left or resigned. You just need to pick up more. And then it's like, okay, well, where does that end? And every hospital is like, oh, we're broke and we're losing money and we're doing this, we're doing, and then it's like we can't hire more docs, we can't pay you anymore, and we can't bring more people on. And most of us would be like, dude, pay me less to hire more,
yeah,
just so we have a more balanced workload here, right?
yeah.
But it is what it is. I guess. And I don't know. I don't have the answer to it, to be honest with you. I think the ultimate answer is encourage people to seek help and don't strip them of their license and stuff if they're honest about it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, how bad that hurts people to say you're not worth anything anymore because you're traumatized. That's additional trauma.
Yeah.
For somebody to go seek help and then be like, well, you're a liability. Talk about really throwing fuel to the fire. So yeah, it's a mess, dude. It's a bit of a mess, but
It's true.
we do
But
our best. We get by.
I will say, hey, seek out psychedelic therapy. Confidential. Can't test for it. Take care of
Dude,
yourself.
so no, so I don't know. Did you post about this yesterday? The Netflix thing with Matty Robertson and DJ Shipley on it?
Not yesterday. A while back, I shared the ways in war. Yeah, I shared a post on it.
Ways of War, you're right. So I
Yeah.
watched that last night. And yeah, that's intense, right? And my wife was watching it with me. And I forget which. I think it was DJ's medical intake that they were showing and going through it, and we're sitting there looking at it, and it's like, yep, 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 right. Have that, experiencing this, experiencing that, and it's ibogaine therapy. I've done a lot of research on that. Somebody introduced me to that about 5 years ago. I've not done it. I've not done ibogaine, but just asked me my opinion on it. So like anything, it's like I dive headfirst into it and want to know as much as I can about it. Um, and I'm still learning about it, still researching it. But that's one thing. It's like, why are we not doing more with that? Right. And I know the answer, and I think everybody knows the answer as to why. Um,
Big pharma.
that's right. So
Big fucking pharma.
that's
Yeah.
right, man. And they would rather put you on an SSRI or barbiturate or something like that, where, they're not transparent with that there's been, blinded placebo controlled studies on antidepressants, and the people that were on placebo had a better outcome than those that were on the medications. But we continue to push that because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry a year, right?
Absolutely. It's the
Where
truth, man. I've
why would
seen
they go out?
guys.
Why would they go out and dig up some shrubs that can actually have positive impact? Well, because that's not a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
we can't
and
we can't hook you on it. That's the thing that I will tell you, man. 5-MeO DMT gave me more clarity and more peace of mind and answered more questions.
Did you did it? You did
Oh yeah,
the whole thing?
yeah. I did that for
Okay.
5 hours right here in my house. I had a shaman at the house, former soft guy that went off and studied it in South America, lived with the tribe, honored the medicine, brought it back. Now we have an underground railroad of healing going on. Like what better way to go through this
That's
journey to
awesome.
have somebody from your community to guide you to fight through it.
That's
And
right.
I in my journey, man, I tell you, I've done the long work. I talk about like I went headfirst into meditation, headfirst into mindfulness, got my certifications, teached it, coached it, read and studied psychedelics. I didn't rush out to just have a psychedelic journey on my own. I studied it and I waited for the right opportunity. Um, and and then when it was brought to me, I knew I'm okay, this is the medication. This episode is brought to you by Titan SARMs. Head on over to titansarms.com and buy a stack today. Use my code CDenny10 to get your first stack. I recommend the Lean Stack 2. Start living your best life. Titan SARMs. No junk, no bullshit, just results. Because there's one thing to read the books, and I told myself for the longest time, I want it to be psilocybin. I want it to be psilocybin. Well, psilocybin wasn't the thing that ultimately came to me in the right and at the right time when I needed it, and I wanted it to be at my home. And it was a guided journey of 5-MeO DMT with another soft warrior, like in it instantly connected things within me, within my mindset, within my soul that I didn't have
Yeah.
having gone through years of therapy, talk therapy. I've done every modality that was ever offered to me when I was ready and when I was willing to get help. When I was finally vulnerable enough, I finally said, I'm going to try everything because I want to get better. I want to get better. I want to overcome this. And I didn't say no to anything. And I got a lot of healing, got a lot of help from a lot of things. But that last little bit, the one thing, the most, and it was by far the most transformative journey I've had. And I will tell you this right now, if you're still on the, on the fence on it, don't know, be willing to study it. Do your own
Yeah.
research. Be willing to dive into the books. I will give you a whole list of recommendation. Um, Start off with Michael Pollan's book and read, study it, be informed. Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
Don't, a lot of things that I thought, oh, it's on the doctor. No, it's your
No.
journey. It's your health. It's on you. You have to be the honest broker and read and study things because a doctor's another human being. He only has access to what he's gone through. If you show up with like that's another thing, operator syndrome that gave me huge sense of understanding to what I was going through is when I showed up with that white paper study and the doctor was sitting there, he's like, I haven't heard about this. And he took the time to read it. He took the time. Was like, okay, yeah, all right.
That's a good doctor, man.
Yeah.
Because so going back to confidence, arrogance,
Yeah.
there's a large percentage of doctors that will be handed a paper and that the arrogance switch goes on.
Yeah.
For real. And
Yeah.
it's like, "Well, I'm a doctor. What are you going to teach me?" Right? Where it's like, dude, I love when my patients bring papers or they ask about, some of the, because look, the reality is in medical school, you're not learning that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, medical school, you don't like, we didn't have a single class on nutrition and lifestyle,
Yeah.
but we had months and months and months of pharmacology, what to
That's
prescribe,
crazy.
what to prescribe, how to prescribe, right? It's just prescribe, prescribe, prescribe. And that's, that you get caught, you're in that machine, right? And then I hear people oftentimes say healthcare is broken in this country. Like healthcare is broken now. And I always say, it's not broken. It's designed and it's working as designed,
Ooh, that's good. Yeah. That's
right?
good.
It's, it's, it's working as designed, when you're 20% of nearly 20% of the GDP in the country. That's a lot of trillions of dollars, like $2.6 trillion a year. Think of the corruption that can occur to get hands on the crumbs of that,
Yeah.
right? And it's designed, and we as physicians need to own more of our practice. We need to own more of our, interactions with our patients and be their strongest advocates. Because I'm seeing more now that patients are expected to be their strongest advocate.
Hmm.
Like we have to be the protectors. We have to be the guardian of their health. And if we're not constantly expanding our knowledge, and if we're not going down those pathways of, okay, I want to read that paper, well, then you're becoming a detriment to your patient's healthcare. And research in medicine's a funny thing. And when you track it back, the majority of it is sponsored by some pharmaceutical company.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Uh, studies. I didn't realize this. It took it wasn't until I got in my undergraduate that I realized, like, oh, here's how we do studies. Well, where does the money come from? Well, it's funded by who? By this company that's going to get you to skew the results. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah. Dude, that goes all the way back to the Rockefeller days, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they decided when he decided he was going to fund, medical schools and develop
Yep.
the curriculum. He developed the curriculum, and it closed a lot of universities, medical schools down. You know, most, I think, with the exception of like two HBCUs, were closed because those medical schools were doing more holistic
Yep.
medicine, right? And they were like, hey, this is the way we do it. We're not going to continue. We're not going to go your pathway. Okay, then you're closed, right? Because holistic medicine was, quackery, and they didn't want that. They didn't want that to infest their new agenda of, pharmaceuticals. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's when you open your eyes and you look at it, it hurts. You certainly, I look at it all the time. I don't want to be part of something like that. Uh, don't get me wrong. There's very sound evidence and research out there, right? Like there's things that we do that it's like, no, this is mainstay of treatment. But when we get into things like, the antidepressant
Mm-hmm.
world, um, there are better options, and we should be looking to that. And Stanford's doing a good job of, they've opened their eye, and they're doing and now you're seeing these pop up around major healthcare centers. And I love seeing it. I love seeing that because what I've researched and what I've read and testimonials and talking to people that have done it, I haven't heard one negative yet, you know? And I think it's a fear of the unknown. Okay, are you going to go on this trip and then come back and you're more broken, or your brain is just, you know, shattered and you're out on the streets mumbling and walking around and homeless all of a sudden because you did one trip on Ibogaine, right?
Yeah. No, I've
So I
seen
think,
the exact opposite. I've seen
right.
some of my brothers, some of my friends were dealing with some of the darkest things and were broken, literally broken. Guys that didn't have access to emotions, guys that didn't have access to tapping in to like finally grieving the loss of friends, brothers that weren't able to talk about things, that were very much addicted to alcohol. And after having these experiences and being able to go on these trips that are paid for by these amazing organizations, we're finally able to heal in a
Yeah.
remarkable way. In a remarkable way, to come back home and say, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not doing this. I have a better way forward. I know what I'm doing. And they're plugged into resources. They're plugged into groups, and they're following things that family members and close friends have been telling them and yelling and screaming them to do for years and months. And finally, it's second nature. They're not walking away from their path. They're on their journey, and it's not a magic wand. I'm saying they're doing the work. It makes it allows them to see the light and allows them to see the benefit of doing the work, of following their journey. And that's the beauty of it. You have a choice. You can go on this wonderful experience, and you can go through it and then come back home and not follow through. But a vast majority of the guys that I know from my community that go, they want to do the work, and that's the
Right.
beauty of it. Like, they
Yeah.
see it as a blessing. They see it as as having a second chance at life, and that's a reality, man. And I will champion that now more than ever. I understand medication has its place, but I will tell you, I look at myself at the very beginning when I was in crisis, and yes, the medication was needed. But afterwards, when I was empowered, when I had resources, and I knew I could handle things a lot more, I was willing to let go and say, I can manage this. I can work through this with every other tool and resource because I had agency. I had the ability to advocate for myself and say, you know what? I'm a Green Beret. This is going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to sit with the uncomfortable feelings and I'm going to push through this. It's going to suck. It's not going to be fun,
Sure.
but I'd rather do that than to have that muted gray life. And that's what I was having. That's
But
the
you get
no.
that you get that empowerment back. Like
Yes.
you feel
Yeah.
empowered and in control again.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine for a lot of you guys, when you come out of, special forces, it's like you lose that sense of purpose.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
you
Identity and purpose, man.
right? It's like, who am I now? What is my purpose now? What's that look like? Right? Because you've invested so much of yourself into that, and then it's over, right? You're done. So who am I? What am I supposed to do at this point? Right? And then all the bad shit starts piling up, right? And then you're looking for any avenue to just numb it,
Yes.
right? You're just trying to numb it. And, whatever pathway you can take there that's self-destructive, as human beings, it's fight or flight, man. That's what we are at the core. You're either going to stand to fight or you're just going to run. And it's easier to run, but at the end, it's actually the harder pathway. You know,
Absolutely, man.
what's
Yeah.
what's gonna what's gonna be what's easiest is to stand and fight for yourself and to put that work in rather than, just mask it with alcohol or drugs or, start weed, heroin, whatever. I mean, I've seen, I've had, I've taken care of a fair number of veterans that land in the emergency department in crisis, right? Special operators, it's like I've taken care of a fair number of them. They're there, and it's like, and for civilians, it's like, how'd you get here?
Yeah.
Right? Like you are, elite, best of the best, and nobody steps back and recognizes that, that identity and that purpose, the loss that happens. And then, you're expected to just continue to be this warrior and this man, and don't cry, don't share your feelings, because then you're
Yeah.
not a man,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
You're
No.
trained that way. You were trained that way.
People expect us to continue, and that's why I always say kill the myth. That it's an absolute myth that we're invincible, that we're unbreakable. We're human beings, we're flesh and bone. We
Right.
just we just went through specialized training, and it's easy it's easy to ignore it and to keep carrying and push it down in your rucksack when you're in a world that is so intoxicating. The mission and the purpose and the identity is so fucking big. It's easy. It's
Yeah.
easy to push it aside. That's the only thing that when you're jumping out of airplanes, when you're doing dive ops, when you're doing the sexiest things on earth, when kids are playing video games about the things that you do, it's easy to believe the hype and believe the myth. But
Yeah.
and here's the commonality. The first time anything happens, when you get a chink in your armor, that's when the shit starts to come out. When you have those surgeries where you're on downtime, when you get removed from the team and get put in an administrative role, that's when the shit starts to come out. I always tell people it's like a NASCAR or an F1 car. Well, it's on when it's doing laps, everything's tight, everything's ready to go. The moment you pit, the moment when you come in, that's when shit falls apart.
Yeah.
You're no longer in that high stress operating mode. Now things can start to now you can have it in your fourth eye, like, "Oh shit, I don't feel
I'm
good.
human.
I'm
Shit,
human."
I'm human. I'm not supposed to be human. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like, why is this happen? I'm not supposed to be. I'm above human,
yeah,
right? So no, I definitely see how it happens, man. And it's heartbreaking, to have one of you guys, middle of the night in an emergency department in a ball,
yeah,
and it's like they they've been trying and nothing's worked. And they're desperate and they wind up there because they're going to kill themselves,
yeah. That's the
you
truth,
know?
man.
or
Yeah,
they had, or they were going to kill themselves and the police showed up, and
mhm,
then it's a standoff, and it's like, man, how, I don't know. I don't. That's a very complex scenario, man.
yeah. Yeah, we see it in the one thing I will say, shameless plug, for my Green Berets listening, or if you're listening, you're a member of the Great Green Beret family and you need resource, please reach out to Special Forces Foundation. Now more than ever, we have your back. Details in the description. Click the link, check them out. No request goes unanswered. You need help, we pick up the phone. I'm honored to be a part of that foundation. It is a great mission. We love you guys. We need you in here. We need you guys to transition and be part of the greater community. And your families deserve care. That's why it's easy for us to be able to carry on this great mission of supporting you and your families because you deserve it. So please, if you're suffering, you want access to care, hit up the Special Forces Foundation. We got your back always. It's one of the things where I realized like we have to be willing to talk about it. We have to be willing to put it out there because there's nothing more important than killing the myth. You're a human being. These are human problems, and we all face them, just like you have, just like tons of my friends have. It's about life. You experience it in different lives, but it all comes back. Like our suffering is not unique to us. It's common humanity.
That's right.
What ails me can ail Mike and everybody else out there. We just have to be willing to be vulnerable enough to talk about it and say, "Hey, our resources. There's ways you can get better." You know,
Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome can get you, man.
oh yeah, and
That's a
you're a
killer.
high performer. You're a high performer, and individuals in your career field they deal with it too. That's a thing. Like it's like, oh fuck, did I really make it? Gone through all these boards. When's the other
Yeah.
shoe gonna drop? When are they gonna find out?
Yeah. Right. That's a destructive pathway in of itself too. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's and before I let you go, I have to at least tap into like you become a doctor. You do all the specialized training. How and when do you have time to do something like prep in the wild?
yeah, I mean, so prep 'em really started um several years ago as an idea. And I have been, I have been closely connected to a lot of the outdoor world, right? And a lot of people in there. And after I meet them, and it's a compliment because, they also, dude, you're like a cool doctor, right? And like, I don't like, I can come to you and I can ask you questions and you don't make me feel stupid or, that type of thing. And that's always been my practice, right? I'm not here to put you down and try to elevate myself. Like why do I need to do that to people? But unfortunately, a lot of doctors will, they may put you down. They may belittle you, make you feel dumb in the moment. So you don't ask questions. Um, and so it's just the circle, the circle of people just grew. More people have my cell number. They have me on speed dial. So if they're having an issue at home, if they're having an issue out in the woods, like, hey man, walk me through this. What do I need to worry about? How do I take care of this in the moment? So there were a few key people that, were like, dude, why are you doing this? And I'm like, dude, I just love helping people. Like I mean, that's just who I am. And whenever you need help, I'm going to pick up the phone. And they're like, no, like you have a more than a full-time job and you're still picking up the phone for us. Like, why don't you make a business out of it? So I just kind of married, my 20 years of emergency medicine experience with the outdoors and no longer willing to just sit back and accept the fact of people coming, into
Mhm.
the emergency department, into a trauma bay with these life-threatening emergencies where nothing was done. Right. So prep 'em is really, the mindset, and the skills, knowledge to understand, how to recognize it, how to manage it in the moment, and having the right tools to do it.
Yeah.
And I've bought a lot of med kits over the years, only to get them in the mail and overpriced, and I throw half the shit away as
Same.
an right. So as an ER doc, like I'm an ER doc, so I don't get, you can put whatever you want in that kit. I know how to use it. But I started recognizing like if I'm throwing half the shit away because I don't see it as useful and as essential, how's everyone else seeing it? It's intimidating. So 4 key reasons that people don't want to carry a med kit, bulk, because, ounces turn into pounds and turns into pain when we're out there, right? Cost, a lot of these things like 200-300 bucks. They don't want to spend the money on that. The whole, the not knowing how to use the contents.
Mhm.
And then the ultimate one that's just unacceptable is, well, that shit's never going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet. Why is it going to happen? And I will tell you right now, man, if I had $1 for every patient that I stood over in the trauma bay that said, "Doc, I never thought this would happen to me, man." Like, be done. Like, I would be retired right now because, it's statistics. I mean, statistically, you put yourself in a situation, you put yourself in an environment, that window closes statistically for something bad to happen, right? You can take all the necessary precautions. You can, think that you've got it all together, but it can happen to you. It happened to me. And, this is what I do. And, I'm out Colorado archery hunting, for elk, and I'm down in this canyon about 8 miles, and, the bull blows out, wind shifts on me, the bull blows out of there. I'm just in my head, pissed off, been a long week, just a grind, and that was my opportunity, one opportunity, and, blew it.
Yeah.
So, I stupidly stepped between two, going down this mudslide area, step between these 2 trees with my left leg, my right foot gives out on the mudslide area, and my knee hinges in there, tear my
Mm.
MCL, tear my meniscus,
Oh,
and dude, I'm 8 miles in. So, I've always carried the little things, right? I've always
yeah.
carried the, okay, I got a blister on my heel. I've got a 4x4 Band-Aid there and I can slap on there, got some tough skin, that type of thing, right? But in that moment, I'm like, shit, I have nothing. I have nothing to manage this. Like, I don't have splint, I don't have wraps, like I have nothing. So, I think combination of experiences and people just kind of motivating and saying, it's needed in the outdoor community, right? So with all the experience, and my business partner Jeff is an ER doc too, and between the
Oh,
two of
wow.
us, we have 30 some years of ER experience together, and it's like we feel that we can bring that to the table and benefit the community. And if that and the the bigger picture of all that, man, is if that can save an ER doc from sitting with a family and telling them their loved one didn't make it, then it comes full circle, and we're helping our own community. We're helping the outdoor community. We're helping ER docs around because they don't have to pronounce another person dead, right? Which is what we live with and what haunts us and what keeps us awake is those pronouncements, especially young people, right? And not to say any death is easy, but there's a big difference between a 100-year-old and a 1 month old, right? Huge difference there. And I think, this whole mindset that we develop in Prep'em is it just helps bring that full circle into protecting our community in the outdoors and emergency medicine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that we understand, like, while we're in,
Right.
but if you don't practice it, if you don't but, like, every one of our vehicles has a kit, and I quickly like, it only takes that one time, I'll never forget it, and be caught with your pants down, man. Be caught with your
Yeah.
pants down. You don't have it and you need it, ooh, you're gonna remember that, and,
Dude,
now more
I
than
have that
ever.
stuff with dude, I have this stuff with me all the time because it's not just about you,
It's
and
yep,
it's like you don't have to be you're not a, these aren't designed for just hunters. If you're trail running, if you're hiking, if you're climbing, if you're mountain biking, if you're, for ATV, ATV and all over the place, snowmobiling, whatever, you travel the roads, you travel the highways day in and day out. You know how many accident scenes I've come across in my day, right?
yeah,
Like, you may be the first person on scene because statistically it's not us.
yep,
You don't have an ER doc there showing right up, first person on scene when you have an accident. No, it's going to be a bystander or it's going to be law enforcement, right? Most of the time, it's a bystander that's calling 911. And then the next person on scene is going to be a police officer, a lot of the times. And what I've found in all this though, my younger brother's a cop, right? So he's an officer. I talked to him about this and he's like, dude, we hardly get any, like, yeah, we do stop the bleed, but as far as the other big things to look out for, and I've talked to a lot of people in that community now, like, hey, what are you guys getting? Like, and think of the trauma they endure by being the first person on scene and not having the skills and knowledge to take care of that. They have to live with that. They have to live with that, man. So, that's a haunting thing there. Like, you're the first person and you're watching somebody bleed out. Like,
Yeah.
that's the nightmare fuel there, man. So, and I was surprised to find out that a lot of, law enforcement told me, like, dude, we get minimal. So, we're setting out to change that and work with organizations to, if, not if, doing, hands-on trainings of how to recognize the big bad things, right? When you see a deformity of a knee, everybody thinks, oh, they broke their knee. What if it's a dislocated knee? And how do you assess that in the moment? How do you check for pulses to see if their vascular supply is disrupted? Right? And they're going to lose their leg, man,
Yeah.
if you don't expedite this. You dislocate your knee, you're shearing your popliteal artery, and you're going to lose your leg unless you get to the center with the right services to care for that within the time frame, right? And we've just seen so much of that over the years where it's unrecognized, not managed, not taken care of, and then people get really bad news. So
Yeah. We've
that's
been
what it's
really
about.
good. Yeah, we've been really good about talking about tourniquets. So that, like, that, at least that's in the forefront. But and I tons of my friends, like, oh, that aren't in the military, don't have an affiliation. They're like, oh, they're quick to point out, like, I got my tourniquets in there. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
No.
That's cool, but there's a wide range of shit that you should be prepared
So,
for.
so let's get on tourniquets. All right. So I did a post on this on our social here recently. Tourniquets, is it all great? Is it all great, or is there some bad there?
Yeah.
And look, I'm not going to speak negative about Stop the Bleed because they're out there doing an essential thing and teaching people how to use tourniquets. What we see on the back end though is now there's a lot of tourniquet applications occurring.
Yes.
And does every bleeding wound need a tourniquet? No, like, we're seeing and having a very basic, like the most basic understanding of anatomy, knowing where those major blood vessels are, right?
Yes.
Groin, behind the knee, you know, anterior of your tibia, and right behind your, that inner part,
Yeah.
your medial malleolus of your ankle, right? Like, knowing where those arteries are, right? Your axillary, your brachial, those types of things, and just having a very basic understanding. You can Google that. Google
Yeah.
it, arterial diagram of the human body. So if you're taking care of somebody and you see a big gash back here and you go slamming a tourniquet on high and tight,
Well, guess what?
guess what? And well, and tourniquets don't come without risk.
Yeah.
So once within 2 hours, evidence, you're not going to end up with an amputation. Like, it's close to 0% amputation. Once you start getting to 4 6 hours, man, 6 hours, it's like you got flip a coin if your extremity is going to get
Yeah.
amputated.
Yeah.
So you go putting a tourniquet on for somebody that's got a cut across their tricep where there's no major artery, and pressure packing and a proper dressing will manage it. And you're 8 miles down in a canyon that's going to take you 4 hours to hike out. Like, when I hurt my knee, and it's like, now you may have cost them their arm,
Yeah.
right? So that's part of what we're doing too, and just helping people recognize what are the what are the do's and do nots,
Yeah.
that everyone should have a basic understanding. But yes, everyone should be carrying tourniquets, and I think any essential med kit that's advertised as such that doesn't come with a tourniquet is not essential by definition. Ours has all the things for, the common everyday stuff, but then, clotting gauze and tourniquets as well. Not both. There's a basic one that comes without the gauze and tourniquet for those that already carry it and just want to add to that. And then there's, the pro model that comes with the gauze and tourniquet. And within next month, we'll have a mass hemorrhage kit put together.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I've,
Yeah, so that's going to be for people that have a little better understanding and skill set. You know, if you need to do a needle decompression on somebody's chest, the needles in there, you know, chest seals,
oh yeah.
you know, a big honking piece of clotting gauze, 3 by 39 inches, that you just plug some holes with that baby.
That's nice. Yeah.
Wound clot, yeah, wound. I love that. I love this wound clot gauze that we carry in ours. So if you're not familiar with them, check them out. Wound clot. You know, it's a biodegradable. You know, the cool thing about it is we don't have to go digging that stuff out. We don't have to go finding it.
Yeah.
It's non-toxic. It's just a cellulose-based product that's going to help you clot. And it can just be left there.
Nice.
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's not chemicals, so that stuff can just be left there. We don't have to go in and disrupt what's already injured and cause more damage and more bleeding.
I like that. And if you're going to be in Chicago anytime soon, get one of those kits.
Yeah, if you're going to Chicago, man, just strap that put that shit on like a book bag.
Dude, Mike, I can't thank you enough for being here, man. This
I
has been
appreciate you.
absolute fucking blast, man. We're gonna have to do a part two because, brother, you're part of the community. You're one of us, whether you like it or not, man.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Oh, if people want to get a hold of you or check out what you guys got, where can
Yeah.
they go?
So prepemwild.com is our website. PREPEM wild.com. Social handles, it's prepem_wild for Instagram. That's the main one that we post on. And then we would Facebook and TikTok too. So also on there. A lot of the Facebook and TikTok stuff is just, you know, carried over from Instagram. So, but yeah, get a lot of engagement, encourage engagement. So if you have questions, you know, certainly it's never a bother. If you have topics that you want covered, you know, if there's these burning things that you want to know more about, we love that. Like somebody
Heck
just
yeah.
reached out to me today. I did a post yesterday on hyperbaric medicine, and somebody asked me like, hey, what's the difference between home units and commercial units? And why does it matter? And are there any positive effects for people that are not injured? And the answer is yes, there are many. So, you know, we love that stuff, man. Like
Heck yeah.
education is what we love. You know, we love doing that. So if you have any questions, just comment, you know, follow along. From the website every week, I put out a blog post on Saturday mornings, just focusing on topics, short reads. It's not doctor-ish.
It's not a white paper, folks.
No, it's not a freaking research paper that no one can understand. I put it in, you know, everything's in layman's terms, and you know, put one of those out every Saturday. So if you subscribe on our website with your email, and the promise is you're not getting inundated with marketing shit. I don't have time for that. I don't
Yep.
have time to be sitting there sending you email after email every day. It's just really updates if, you know, new product release, or, you know, mainly every Saturday you get an email that, hey, the blog's up if you want to read it, you know, on that topic. So, you know, try to do some really cool stuff with that.
Heck yeah, man. Well, there you go, folks. Do me a favor, pause, go to episode description, click those links, subscribe for that blog post, be ready to
Appreciate it.
learn some stuff. And yeah, man, it's great to have you in the community, being out there doing this stuff, because you know, when we get out, we want to look for brotherhood. And I think one of the easiest things for us to do as veterans is get plugged in with people that want to learn more about medicine and emergency management and stuff like that. And I see a lot of guys going into those service industries, and they find themselves in these little groups where they're going out there hunting, they're going out fishing, and the first thing people want to know is like, oh, what can you teach us about survival or being out in the wild? And the community that you're building, bro, it's a lot of veterans, a lot of people that like learning about this stuff and sharing their knowledge from more what they learned when they were in the service. My hat's off to you for what you're doing, and I can't wait to see it where it goes. And yeah, I got to talk to you after we finish this, because I got another show to bring you on. So yeah, I'm
Okay,
selfish.
right
I
on,
want to
bro.
bring you on. So yeah, again,
I appreciate you. This is a lot of fun. You know, I always enjoy doing these where I can, you know, be myself without judgment, and
oh yeah,
you know, and shed a different light on what doctors can be, and who some of us are.
absolutely, man. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me the platform to do this.
Dude, thank you. And everybody listening, thank you all for tuning in. And we'll see you all next time. Till then, take care. Security Halt Podcast is proudly sponsored by Titan's Arms. Head to the episode description and check out Titan's Arms today.